Weaponized words, the age of cancel culture and the death of thinking. You ever notice how quiet people have gotten lately? Not because they've got nothing to say, but because they're terrified to say anything. Every word feels like walking on a minefield. You pause before you tweet, you edit your thoughts before you speak, and not because you're trying to be kind, but because you're trying not to be destroyed. That's not free speech. That's performative survival. We've entered this strange era where being misunderstood is more dangerous than being wrong, where silence is safer than curiosity, and where people mistake fear for morality. So today, let's talk about it. Let's talk about cancel culture, political correctness, and how every word has become a weapon, not against hate, but against thinking itself. The moral illusion. It started with good intentions, right? Be respectful, be mindful, don't offend people. It sounded fair until it became a religion. Now we've got a moral hierarchy built entirely on who can be offended the fastest. And if you're not outraged, if you hesitate, if you ask a question, you're the enemy. It's not enough to be kind anymore. You've got to perform kindness publicly, loudly, constantly, or risk being labeled. And the labels are ready before you even speak. Bigot, phobic, tone-deaf, privileged. They're not meant to describe you, they're meant to dismiss you. Because in a culture built on moral panic, labeling someone evil is easier than proving yourself good. The theater of outrage. Cancel culture runs on emotion, not reason. It's outrage as entertainment. It's moral theater for the attention economy. Think about it. The modern public square is Twitter, and Twitter doesn't reward truth, it rewards outrage. It's not about what's right, it's about what gets engagement. The cancel mob is basically a digital pitchfork parade. Everyone gets to feel powerful for a few hours, united against a villain. Then the dopamine fades, the crowd gets bored, and they move on to the next person to destroy. But here's the dark part. People love it. Canceling someone gives you the illusion of virtue without the effort of self-reflection. It's moral fast food, feels good instantly, leaves you empty later. And the people leading the charge? They often think they're heroes. But heroes don't silence people, they challenge them, they persuade them, they listen. The narcissism of virtue. Cancel culture is the perfect ecosystem for narcissists because it's all about image, not impact. You don't have to be a good person, you just have to look like one. And the easiest way to look good is to find someone worse and destroy them. It's social currency. Public shaming is now a form of status, like digital blood sport. The mob gets to feel powerful for a few hours, united against a villain. Then the dopamine fades, the crowd gets bored, and they move on to the next person to destroy. But here's what people forget. The mob always eats its own. Eventually, everyone slips up. Everyone says something imperfect, and in a culture with zero forgiveness, imperfection is fatal. The result is people stop being authentic. They stop taking risks. They censor themselves to survive. And that's how free thought dies, not with censorship from above, but with conformity from within. Language as a weapon. You want to control people? Control their language. Because if you control language, you control thought. When every word can be twisted, when definitions keep changing, people stop talking altogether. They retreat, they nod along, they become spectators in their own minds. Political correctness at its core used to mean politeness. Now it means submission. It's no longer about empathy, it's about obedience. You don't say certain words because you fear social death, not because you believe they're wrong. That's not moral progress, that's psychological conditioning. And notice how the goalposts keep moving. What was acceptable 5 years ago is now unforgivable. You can't even apologize anymore because apologies don't restore you. They feed the outrage machine.
The crowd doesn't want growth, they want a spectacle. Gaslighting the rebels. Here's the wildest part. The people enforcing this culture of fear claim they're the ones being silenced. They'll say, we're just holding people accountable. But accountability means conversation, not annihilation. They'll say, we're just protecting marginalized voices. But who decided which voices matter and which ones must disappear? It's gaslighting on a global scale. They shut you up, then tell you it's for your own good. They say, we're making the world safer. But safer for who? For the fragile ego that can't handle disagreement? For the crowd that thrives on emotional control? That's not safety, that's intellectual captivity dressed up as virtue. The fear of thinking. What's happening now is deeper than censorship. It's self-erasure. People are afraid to think out loud because every thought has to pass through this invisible filter. Do I say this? Will this get me canceled? Will this offend someone? Will this end my career? We're raising a generation that believes speaking honestly is dangerous and staying silent is moral. That's not progress, that's regression. Thinking is supposed to be messy. It's supposed to offend sometimes because truth hurts before it heals. When you remove discomfort from discourse, you remove growth from society. Reclaiming free thought. So what do? We start by reclaiming the courage to speak. Not to be cruel, not to provoke for attention, but to think freely again. We remind ourselves that disagreement isn't violence, that mistakes are how we learn, and that forgiveness is more powerful than destruction. Cancel culture only works when people stay silent. When people start thinking for themselves, the illusion breaks. So don't whisper your truth. Say it with reason, say it with empathy, but for God's sake, say it. Because if we lose the freedom to think, we lose everything. Freedom of speech isn't about protecting the agreeable. It's about protecting the human mind from extinction.